Solar is a disruptive technology, and it has very quickly become one of the cheapest sources of electricity, not only in the US, but around the world. And the direction where the prices are likely to go, this economics will keep getting better.
Rooftop solar is an increasingly common sight in communities across the US. Propelled by falling prices and increased awareness of its benefits, the technology is poised for continued growth. But even as solar goes mainstream, it's tough for consumers to tell which installer, which panels, and which financing are right for them. It's a gap that Vikram Aggarwal says could hold back steep growth potential for rooftop solar, and it's one he's trying to fix through his online solar shopping platform, EnergySage. Aggarwal recently spoke to John Farrell, who heads the Energy Democracy Initiative here at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, about how EnergySage promotes consumer choice, enhances local economic benefits, and helps more people understand the compelling case for rooftop solar. This is Local Energy Rules, a podcast sharing powerful stories about local renewable energy.
So let's start with a study that was recently released by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory based on EnergySage data. There was a rather surprising finding. What was it?
On evaluating the prices that consumers are paying for solar today, what they did was they looked at prices that consumers were getting through the EnergySage marketplace, and they compared the prices that consumers were getting from installers outside of the EnergySage marketplace. So they did a paired quote analysis, which basically said, let's look at prices that consumers are likely to pay when they are shopping around through the marketplace and prices that they're being quoted outside of EnergySage. What they found was very interesting, that larger installers in general were more expensive. On average, they were charging approximately 10% more. In certain cases, the price that consumers are being charged by larger companies can significantly be higher. And to give you some context, on EnergySage Marketplace, we see an average of 8 kilowatt system being installed in homes. So that translates into thousands of dollars worth of savings if the consumers choose to shop around. There's a follow-on study that's coming out from NREL. The results of that study were mentioned in the study that you have already, is that increasing competition decreases prices that consumers pay. So what NREL is finding is that the more quotes the consumer gets, the lower the price they are likely to pay. When the installers know that they are competing against 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other vendors, they come with sharpened pencils, and they end up offering lower prices.
It seems so counterintuitive. Why would larger solar installers be charging more? It seems like in so many different businesses in our country, it's Walmart, it's, other big box stores, they say, oh, well, we're bigger, so we're offering you a better deal. Some of our research has shown that's not necessarily true in the retail side, but I'm fascinated about this on the solar side. Why would larger solar installers charge more?
That is a great point that you make, that practically in every other industry, the larger providers offer a better value for consumers. Scale equals lower cost, which then translates into lower prices for consumers. I believe the first reason why the larger installers are able to charge more is the lack of transparency in this industry. So today, if you are a consumer interested in solar and you want to know what prices companies are charging, it is very difficult to find that out. You cannot go on the web and do a search just like you can do for every other product. In case of solar, it is very hard to determine what price you should pay in your market for what quality of solar energy systems. So that is one of the biggest challenges in this industry, one that EnergySage is trying to address. Number two is that larger companies have spent a lot of money marketing and advertising solar. Their goal is to reach the consumer first and then convince the consumer that they are the big company, and because they are big, they're offering a good deal and the consumer should pick them and purchase solar from them. Some consumers buy that idea that if they are a larger company, they're likely to offer a better value. But as this study points out, that is generally not the case.
Obviously this study shows the benefits of shopping around, how does EnergySage help consumers find a better deal on solar? And in addition, is there a benefit for the industry as well into having that transparency?
Absolutely. The first thing that EnergySage does is reduce the search cost for the consumer. Imagine yourself. I don't know, John, if you have tried to shop for solar or if any of your listeners have tried to shop for solar.
I have.
You have? Okay, that's great. Great to hear. You may have found the process to be very complex, confusing, and time-consuming. The first step is, as a consumer, you need to figure out who to call, which solar installation companies are good, are qualified, and finding several of them may take a long time for an average consumer. They may have to ask for referrals. They may have to go do a Google search and do some additional research to figure out, is that a good company or not? And then solicit quotes from these different companies. And as you know, sometimes solar contractors are not as responsive. They may take longer to respond. As a consumer, you would now have to collect all the different quotes. Different solar installation companies may be using different language, different metrics, different assumptions. So when they give you a quote as an average consumer who is shopping for solar for the first time, you're likely to be quite confused and not sure exactly who's offering you what value and who's offering you the right product at the right price. So what EnergySage has done is we have taken this process and learned from some of the other industries and converted this solar shopping process into an online shopping experience. Our platform is built on three basic tenets of simplicity, choice, and transparency. So what EnergySage does is we encourage consumers to sign up on our platform. It takes roughly 2 minutes. People tell us about their location of their property, whether it's a home or a commercial building. They tell us how much they're spending on energy and if they have any preferences regarding to the type of financing they're looking for, the quality of equipment, if they're looking for a storage solution to go with their system. Based on that, the consumers will get quotes from up to half a dozen solar contractors. These are all high-quality solar installation companies. They have the right kind of experience, and they have been pre-screened by EnergySage. So these contractors then develop a custom quote based on the profile that the consumer has created. These contractors then provide us with the raw data. We take these quotes, standardize them, and present it to the consumer in a very easy to understand, easy to compare, apples to apples format. So consumers are very quickly and easily able to compare the different options that they have in a very transparent fashion. We help them understand the different quality of the equipment. Is this a Mercedes or is this a Honda? And why this equipment package may be better than the other package. Similarly, we help them understand the differences in the solar installation companies. How long have they been in business? What kind of warranties they're offering? How are they rated and reviewed by other customers? And last but not the least, consumers can very easily and quickly compare the cost and savings of the different financing options that are available to them. At that point, the consumer can always call us, talk to us, email us, and ask us about the different quotes, help them evaluate their options and make a decision, or they can always talk directly with a solar company.
I can already see how this would have been helpful with my experience looking for solar, although I have the unfortunate problem of having a house that doesn't have room for a lot of solar panels. But being able to have somebody standardize those quotes, I think one of the challenges I see for a homeowner is, we don't know anything about what a solar panel is in terms of like what is a good company. And if I go buy a TV, I know good brands. If I'm going to go buy a dishwasher, I can know good brands. I can look in Consumer Reports. But where do I find out which solar panels are the good ones, or the inverters, or any of those kind of things, or knowing things about the company? That's all very challenging. So I can see how this is very helpful for the customer to have somebody walking them through that process. Is there a benefit as well for the solar industry in having a place that consumers can shop and they can have confidence that they are able to do this kind of comparison?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we talk to consumers, and we are now serving a pretty large volume of consumers through our marketplace, there is a lot of homeowners and business owners who are interested in solar. They're aware of solar, they're interested in solar, but they remain skeptical. They really don't know, because it's a new product and they've never shopped for it in the past. They are very uncomfortable with the idea of shopping for solar. And especially, they're very reluctant to call a solar installation company and start the journey So imagine when you are looking to buy, let's say, a flat screen television, call it an LED television. Before you walk into a Best Buy, what typically most of us would do is we would go online, do our research, understand what brand of TVs are available, what are the different quality, what is the different prices, and we arm ourselves with the right questions and then walk into a store to maybe do the actual shopping. And even sometimes when we are in the store, we first like to browse, again, collect the information. And then if a salesperson approaches you, you may say, yeah, give me a few minutes. I'm browsing right now. I'm not ready to talk to you. And then when the consumer is ready, they know that they have the right information. Now they are more willing to talk to a salesperson to make their final decision. I think solar is very, very similar to shopping for televisions or shopping for cars. If we can make it easy for consumers to really understand their options, do their research, get most of their questions answered without talking to a salesperson, we believe that the opportunity for this industry is much bigger. I was just speaking to somebody from Netherlands the other day, one of the larger solar installation companies from Netherlands. And if you look at the tiny country of Netherlands, and you look at how many solar installations are happening every year in Netherlands, it makes the American solar industry look puny, by example. This year, we may be installing solar on about 400,000 homes. If we look at the per capita average of Netherlands, we should be installing solar panels on millions of homes every year. So the market opportunity for the US is much bigger than what we're achieving today. So by making it really easy for consumers to understand their options, to let them comparison shop, just like we shop for every other product and service, we believe this industry can grow and double or triple or quadruple much faster than it otherwise would. So if the industry is growing faster, I believe pretty much the whole solar industry would be very happy, from the manufacturers to lenders to solar installation companies, if the market is growing that fast. And marketing and selling solar would become much cheaper for everybody involved. If the consumer is more interested, is a much better prospect than they otherwise would. As you know, cost of customer acquisition remains significantly high today, even with falling solar panel prices, solar inverter prices. We have not seen a similar kind of dramatic drop in the cost of customer acquisition. If we make it really easy and transparent, I know I've used the word transparent quite a bit, but we firmly believe that the more transparency this industry can achieve, the faster this industry will grow.
So one question I had about the information that you provide consumers, given the results here about the difference in price between kind of the large national firms and the smaller ones, are folks able to get more information about the installers, whether that's, filtering between large and small, or, national and local firms when they're shopping around, for folks that might have a sort of a buy local preference?
Absolutely. EnergySage realizes that the consumer is actually making three separate decisions. They are deciding what solar equipment to buy, what panels or inverters to install, how to finance the installation, whether they should sign up for a lease or a PPA, or whether they should look for a loan option. And as you know, there are several different loan options available in the industry: secured loans through your mortgage, or unsecured loans, which are essentially equipment secured loans. And the next decision that the consumers are making is which solar company to work with. The kind of information we provide for all these three categories is pretty detailed. So starting with solar installers, we help the consumer understand and very clearly compare the quality that makes that solar company special. Whether it is about how long have they been in the business, how many solar installations they've done, how many markets they serve, what kind of rating and reviews they get from their past customers, to the length of warranties that they're providing, etc. We have also heard that some consumer segments have a preference for working with their local companies. So recently we added a field that helps the consumers understand how far is the solar company located from their property. So it is, I think, if I remember correctly, almost 50 to 60% of the quotes that the consumer will receive will be from a contractor which is located within 25 miles of their property. For consumers who prefer to do business with local installers, we make it easy for them to understand who's local. And for consumers who prefer doing business with larger companies, they can easily see that this is a much larger company, has done thousands of installations, and has that kind of quality. So that's about the solar installation companies. For solar panels, we have taken the initiative to classify the solar panels into a easy to understand classification scheme of economy, standard, and premium. Again, using the analogy of cars, we help the consumer understand, is this a Honda or a Mercedes? And using this kind of information, again, giving that kind of transparency about price and quality, consumers can decide whether the better quality deserves a higher price. And what we see is that a lot of our consumers actually do end up choosing better quality equipment.
Hey, thanks for listening to Local Energy Rules. If you've made it this far, you're obviously a fan, and we could use your help for just 2 minutes. Wherever you found our podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, or somewhere else, help other folks find us too by rating our podcast. You should also check out ILSR's other podcasts, like Building Local Power or Community Broadband Bits. Thanks so much for listening. Other than using EnergySage, what's one recommendation that you'd offer an individual that's considering solar for themselves?
Shopping around definitely makes sense. Talk to folks, talk to your neighbors or friends who have gone solar. Ask them about what kind of questions they had and how did they answer those.
Is there a policy that you think that is really essential in helping people to go solar? You know, obviously net metering is a policy out there that is pretty crucial for folks to be able to see an economic return for solar. Are there other policies, or would net metering be the one that you recommend that folks who go solar and are interested in seeing the solar market expand should pay attention to?
Absolutely. I think net metering is very critical to the success of this industry. Although, as we look forward and start seeing the price and value that batteries and storage are likely to offer in the next few years, we just recently have been working with a customer on evaluating battery storage for their commercial property. And I'm surprised by what kind of economics batteries can provide with or without net metering. So absolutely, I think net metering will be key until storage becomes an economically viable option for most consumers thinking about solar. Carbon tax would be a great option also that could provide a long-term certainty for consumers who are thinking about solar. One thing that I would like to highlight is, and again, I think this is a well-known fact, that solar is a disruptive technology. And it has very quickly become one of the cheapest sources of electricity, not only in the US, but around the world. And the direction where the prices are likely to go, this economics will keep getting better. And disruptive technologies always, they shake up industries. They shake up the incumbent industries. In our case, that could be the fossil fuel industry, whether it's coal or natural gas, nuclear, or the utility business models. The more we can support, more our federal government and local governments can support this transition to a renewable energy future, I think the better it would be for everyone. Not only the renewable energy industry in general, but as consumers. Today, the solar economics are so good that if you are a business owner today in America and you are not looking at solar, you're leaving good money on the table. I could not make that blanket statement around the country for homeowners, but in a number of states, if you're a homeowner and you're not considering solar, you're again leaving good money on the table. As this industry matures, I think the American economy will be much stronger if we have a very strong renewable energy industry, which will allow us as an economy to have much lower energy costs in the future. If we don't have that, we would be at a competitive disadvantage versus, let's say, if China has a very robust renewable energy industry, they are likely to have a much stronger competitive position vis-a-vis the American companies. It's not one policy, but I think it's just the support of our government.
And as you say, I think really importantly there's a lot of folks that are leaving money on the table if they're not considering solar, and EnergySage is there to help them on their way to finding that opportunity.
Yeah, and we have started actually working with a number of utilities. A very interesting and a very positive sign that we see is a number of utilities around the country are now actively helping their customers evaluate solar and storage options, and making sure that their customers are informed, they're empowered, so that they are making optimal decisions about going solar. And some of them are also now evaluating how they could monetize this transition to a renewable energy economy. So we are very pleased to see that transition and very glad to be working with some of the leading utilities in the country in helping them make this transition.
That was Vikram Aggarwal, CEO of EnergySage, speaking with ILSR's John Farrell about how EnergySage is making it easier for business owners and homeowners alike to tap into rooftop solar, and what that means for the clean energy economy at large. For more information on distributed generation, visit ilsr.org. And while you're at our website, check out past episodes of the Local Energy Rules podcast. Until next time, keep your energy local, and thanks for listening.